do.
Ladies and gentlemen, turn your speakers up. It's time for the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast. A podcast discussing all things AEW and WWE. Oh yeah! Let's meet the hosts. First, a man hailing from the hub city in Indiana. He goes by @TooSweetKyle on Twitter. The host, Kyle Gagliardi. And your co-host, hailing from the Valley of Lake Tahoe. He goes by @JimTuck89 on Twitter. Jim Tucker. And last but not least, hailing from the cornfield somewhere in Indiana, the full-time part-timer, Ian Garavaglia. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram @PodOnTheMark.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, Mr. OTM Kyle Gagliardi. And as always, I am joined by my good friend, Jim Tucker, or as I like to call him, Tucky!
What's going on, Kyle? Now, for those that heard the intro, they heard that we were joined by the full-time part-timer, but we're not. We are joined by a man hailing from the Queen City in Ohio, from the Wrestling Junkies podcast, a proud member of the Main Event Wrestling Network, and @JunkiesPod on the socials, Mr. Cincinnati. What's going on, brother?
Another day in paradise. It'd be a lot better if the Bengals went 4-8, but what can you fucking do?
I'm a Bears fan.
Let's do it.
Yeah, don't worry, Mr. Cincinnati. It always can get worse. You still have Joe Burrow, you know.
Yeah,
We do.
Yeah,
We do.
true.
It's
Yeah.
just
That's a positive.
what are they going to surround himself with? What are they going to surround him with next year is what's going to concern the fuck out of me, but it's okay.
What the Bengals should do is similar to what we are doing at the Main Event Wrestling Network. We are surrounding ourselves with a great group.
They should
of
hire the
individuals.
Great Brown Hope.
Maybe. The Great Brown Hope. He's cranking out new blogs. We got a new blog out today at mainevent_net, so make sure you check that out. He's talking about Mr. Cincinnati's GOAT, HB Shizzle, in that blog.
Yes,
So, Eric, I don't know if you got the
Great
chance
read.
to check it out yet. You did.
It is a fun little read. Definitely got a few minutes to check it out. Shout out to the Great Brown Hope. Yeah, I appreciate the take.
Yeah, and also a part of the Main Event Wrestling Network. A lot of people already knew this, the Wrestling Junkies podcast. Mr. Cincinnati, you guys have been doing that show for what, about almost 2 years now?
Yeah, it'll be 2 years in March. Yeah.
Tuck is
Fucking
the
wild.
dog's getting excited over there.
It was just so many things happening over here. Dogs are rowdy. Well, I don't think they knew that Mr. Cincinnati was going to be on the pod. And now that's starting to come to light. And
They're excited.
Yeah.
It's a fun surprise. What can I say?
We got the audio going on. I got the virtual background here because my room looks like a trap house in the middle of a renovation. So life is good. We're here. I was not supposed to be on the pod this week. If it was going to be yesterday. So here we are. And Ian's not here. This is great.
Yeah, well, usually Ian is here. He's the part-timer turned full-timer. But me and him were supposed to be in attendance together at AEW Dynamite. Some work things are happening, so I wasn't able to make the trip. So he's taking one of his friends that lives in Indy. So that's why Ian's not here. He is live at Dynamite right now. So hopefully he'll crank out some content for us.
Wait, is this a friend or a date?
It's a friend that's a girl, but they're not like that.
Ooh,
It's not
okay,
like that.
well, okay, yeah, sure.
Because I'm not gonna go into it. It's not my place to disclose the information behind their relationship. I just know he's hanging out with another friend instead of Mr. OTM. But Tucky, we have a discount code going on at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. It's not just OTM merch, as this new hoodie is very comfortable. You can get that at the onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com. It is also main event wrestling merch, and the Wrestling Junkies tapestry is available on that site. What's the coupon code that they can use from now until Christmas, Tuck, if they wanted to save some money?
Like the DX, Xmas, right? That's the code, right?
Good job. Yes.
Oh my God. That's kind of like a pop quiz because I can usually put the strings together. But yeah, glad we got it right. And did my morning weights in my Main Event Wrestling Network tank top today.
Hey now. You're trying to get biceps like Mr. Cincinnati, aren't you?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's a constant comparison in the mirror. What it feels to be like Mr. Cincinnati.
Hey, the only competition is you, all right? That's no.
Hey, we
doing great.
Well, Tuck won't be at the Rumble, but I know I'll be able to get to see Mr. Cincinnati in person in a couple months, which I cannot wait for. That's the next big PLE on the main roster. But guys, don't forget to give us a follow at Pod on the Mark 2 on all of our socials. We are on the road to 400 subscribers, I believe. We are currently sitting at 367. So, Eric, I'm going to steal the line that you guys use on your podcast. What's the number, Eric, Mr. Cincinnati, for people to tell?
Tell one person. Is Kyle so shamelessly pointed out on my show how I know Sal when he sends shit on TikTok. Like, look, it's nothing personal. When you get a bunch of them in a day, they'll always shut. It's just kind of like, you know what? Shut down. It's overload. Let me just scroll and hopefully I'll find what it is that he meant to send me anyway.
Tuck, you know me all the time. You know about that life.
I haven't opened TikTok in 17 weeks. So
that's an exact number. You remember the exact week.
It's got to be, if not more. Yeah, I don't know. TikTok it's something I don't, like if I'm not going to create and engage on that platform, I rarely just go and click on it to consume content because I'm already doing reels on Instagram and Facebook, so God, like
it's a lot.
And now I'm
TikTok is mainly thirst traps anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, make sure you're giving us a follow at Pod on the Mark. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like. We would greatly appreciate it. And boys, in the background, as some people may see, NXT Deadline. We're going to get to that very shortly, but a lot of things happened on Monday Night Raw this past week. I know Mr. Cincinnati would agree with me. Easily one of the best, if not the best, Monday Night Raw of the year. Tuck, I haven't even had the chance to talk to you about anything that happened on Monday Night Raw. I want you to save your thoughts for the new day because we're going to do a complete breakdown of that segment. But just the overall vibe of Monday Night Raw, did you enjoy it? Do you feel the same as me and Eric did about it?
Well, this particular Monday Night Raw was, I think, a cornerstone or a trademark episode because it really shows the difference between WWE and AEW. They went down to 2 hours and they gave 30 minutes at the start of the show to compelling promos that I felt, especially between Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, I felt like they went out there with bullet points to hit, but not necessarily line after line after line. And they're also really good at promos. So with AEW, it's sometimes you tune in and there's too many stories going on too briefly, too quickly, or too many stories with too many yarns or angles, or you're just going to get an athletic showcase. But WWE, I think this Monday Night Raw was a stamp on, and they have to tighten up, dude. We're weeks away from Netflix, so it does make sense. But I do think it was a great episode, and it showed us the contrast between the two companies in a major way. Like we were talking about in the main event chat, like no wonder they went commercial free, and there was not a match. There were no matches to draw you in, but so many different things to be compelled by and at. So it's awesome.
And one of the biggest things and the biggest takeaways is the fact that they jumped right back into Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Now, Mr. Cincinnati, I know this is something that you guys have already talked about on your podcast, but I would have to assume that you were probably surprised that they went right into this feud, and we still are months away from the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania.
Honestly, no, not surprised one bit. When we set up our show title for Monday night, we said this is basically kicking off 2025 here. I mean, yes, we have these 2 Saturday nights main events specials that are going to have a PLE feel, but I mean, for all intents and purposes, the last PLE of the year was Survivor Series, and because they are intentionally taking that break so they don't have to build to another pay-per-view per se, and worry about kind of what that comes with it, because they've wasted this dead season before. No, I'm not surprised in the slightest that they're forecasting, and I said on our show, that 30 minutes set up night 1 main event of WrestleMania. That's what it was designed to do, because we're already seeing kind of this side quest, so to speak, for Seth Rollins. It's going to be in Sami Zayn. Last night is not the last match that we're going to see between these two. So while they are both kind of distracted, and Sami Zayn is going to have Drew McIntyre that he has to deal with, these guys are going to stay busy, but they wanted us to know kind of this is what's coming next. CM Punk basically pointed at the sign that was not there yet. That was not on accident. So yeah, no, with that 30 minutes, they set up a marquee match for WrestleMania. And both guys have plenty to keep them busy for the next 3 months that do not necessarily involve having to get physical with each other any more than they did last night. I don't necessarily see them getting physical again, at least until, let's say save it for Netflix at this point.
They're going to be saving a lot of things for Netflix at this rate, which gets me even more excited. Sets my expectations probably a little too high than they should be, because we know how that goes. Sometimes we, as the fans, set our expectations a little too high, with a lot of excitement behind things, and then we're left disappointed. So I like to temper my expectations, but you guys talked about, that's just a few things that happened on Monday Night Raw. We ended up seeing Jey Uso get taken out, and for some reason I couldn't connect those dots at the time. I don't know if you guys were able to, but we ended up finding out towards the end of the show, Tuck, that Drew McIntyre is the one that took out Jey Uso, and he seems to be on this warpath against the OG bloodline, which makes total sense.
Yeah, and it gives the bloodline something else to deal with while the fallout from the Survivor Series match kind of settles, I think. I do still think there's going to be bloodline elements at WrestleMania 2.0 versus OG. I don't know exactly what. And Drew McIntyre comes back white hot. Yeah. I honestly, I forgot about him in the Punk of it all. You know what I mean? And it just shows you the strength of WWE's roster as well. And we've got women's mid-card titles. So there's a lot of things that mean a lot of stuff happening in the next few months. So I'm excited. I'm hoping the WrestleMania tickets will, because it's in Vegas and I can get down there pretty soon, I'm hoping those tickets will come down closer to the show, i.e. the way they did with SummerSlam.
Yeah, this is true. I don't
but
know
if not,
it's going to happen.
If not, I'm also just going to save that money and go to SummerSlam. So
nothing wrong with that.
We got to go.
What would that be, number 3 or 4 in a row for us if we went?
For us, it would be 4, I think.
Yeah, it would be 4.
5 in a row. It'll be my 6th in a row.
I like it.
Jeez.
Shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that is the perfect pay-per-view for my schedule. Summer baseball has ended. We're a couple weeks away from school starting. Like I can reliably, book that until they go overseas. Then I'm gonna have a problem. I do think they're gonna take I can't go to Wembley.
We're not going.
I got a child now. I gotta try to be better at money. It's hard.
But you're not a podcast MILF like the podcast dad was earlier today. I don't know if you got the chance to see his shirt. Mr.
Man, does he love
bright
fluffing.
pink. Yeah. How about that?
Wait, what did you say, Kyle?
Well, he was wearing a pink shirt that said MILF on it. So Eric called him podcast MILF. But what was the shirt actually about, Eric?
It stands for Man I Love Fluffman. So shout out to friends and former guests Cody Fluffman and WWE ID recruit Sean Legacy, the Buff and Fluff connection. That is what those shirts are all about. He has one that is pink that says MILF, Man I Love Fluffman. Mine says DILF, Dude I Love Fluffman, and it's blue. So yeah.
MILFs and DILFs, baby. I like it.
I love that. And speaking of WWE ID, shout out to Kylie Ray. Not a friend of the show, but somebody that we have seen perform a lot at Pro Wrestling Ventures and Warrior Wrestling. much deserved addition there for that program. Kylie Ray, you know, unfortunately it didn't work out with AEW. We can't speak on what happened there, but hopefully everything works out for the best here with the WWE ID program and her, because she is an immense talent. But guys, regardless, before we move on to this heartbreak of a segment, we have 35 of us, or 35 of you, I should say, watching live right now. So if you are watching live, don't forget to leave your comments, share your opinions, because the MVM title, Most Valuable Mark, is on the line every single episode we do. So make sure you're leaving those comments there in the comment section. But boys, let's just dive right into it. It's taken up a lot of the headlines. Yes, we do unfortunately have to talk about it. And it is the fact that the New Day, and I say that as 2/3 of the New Day, have officially turned heel. Obviously, we know they were planning on celebrating the 10-year anniversary of the New Day on Monday Night Raw this week. Big E does come out. What an ovation he got. It was so nice just hearing that theme song once again. Got me in my feels. Big E proposes this idea of him being there ringside, rooting them on and getting them back on track. But Tuck, we come to find out that's not happening. That's not in the plans. Kofi and Woods are having absolutely none of that. A lot of things were said. You know, they mentioned past injuries to big name superstars that ended up coming back from neck injuries. It hit deep. How did you feel about this segment as a whole? Because I think a lot of us were swerved.
I am stoked. I can't wait to see New Day turn heel, go on a nasty streak. I think it's got to be a full repackage here. New music. They certainly can't come out to Big E's voice anymore. But it was a roller coaster of a segment, because I was also excited for Big E to become the manager. I thought that would be a great idea, cool idea. Maybe if Big E gets to a spot where he can return, which again, no timeline, no new info there. Does Big E come back as a heel manager and pair with them? There's the thing that WWE is doing a pretty good job of is leaving many roads open, and the length of these stories give them time to pivot and switch too. And so, all the neck injury stuff, like super overplaying that from the start. You're like, okay, yeah, we know where these guys are going. But I think it says a lot about Kofi and Xavier Woods as well, that they're willing to make such a stark change 10 years in. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Could have continued to make them a lot of money. And I think there is risk involved, but I'm excited to see it.
See, if this was the old WWE, I think they would have reunited right there and then. I think they just would have put them back together, had Big E ringside for everything. But I think this is showing that we are in that new era. They're willing to take those risks. But Mr. Cincinnati, you know, they cut deep with this one. And I think I mentioned it on your guys' podcast how a lot of people, including myself, really didn't think Kofi Kingston could ever be a heel. But I think in just that one segment, those two guys might have became the biggest heels in professional wrestling. And I think I know what he's about to do right now. Yep. He's pouring one out for the... Oh, God, that's a big pull. Oh, here we go. Let him cook. Let him cook.
There is absolutely nothing that could have prepared me for what we saw on Monday night. This hurt to watch more than anything that they could have physically done to Big E. Woods, we've been seeing the tension for months. You know, I think it would have been easy for us to say it's time for him to have this singles breakout moment. But podcast dad pointed it out on our show. The most heartbreaking part of that was when E said, "You too, Kofi." Like it's like, on one hand, I get their frustration. It's been a rough road for the New Day. I mean, they've kind of been in that same kind of let's just say purgatory that the Street Profits have been in. I mean, these are guys that are used to being in the tag team title conversation consistently, and they've been kind of relegated to putting other teams over here. this is a shot in the arm that can really benefit everybody involved here. Like you said, Kyle, these guys could have, basically spent the next, 10, 15 years selling New Day merch and enjoying their floating spot on the card for whatever's called with them. And they'd have been great. They're Hall of Famers already. But this is, I mean, with Kofi also turning, this is damn near close to getting a Rey Mysterio heel turn here. Which, I mean, if they can pull this off successfully with Kofi here, let's it'd be crazy, but it's not something that you should rule out down the line. Tuck, I agree with you. There's going to be a brand new presentation of these guys here. It's all going to be in the follow up here. At this point, they can't necessarily be an evil parody of themselves. They need to be whiny little chicken shit assholes. That's what they need to do here now. And if done properly, this could be the team that takes these titles off of the Judgment Day. A heel New Day tag team title run. Just let them cook and be as evil and nasty and sardonic as they want to be. And I think it's gonna be something really exciting to watch.
For sure. I mean, I don't know what direction they're going to go in next. I don't know if they immediately are going to go for those tag titles, because I would like to see the War Raiders maybe get a crack at the titles, and then I feel like that could be the perfect team for the New Day to eventually get those tag titles off of. But man, that's another thing now that this creates even an even better version, I guess you could say. Obviously, it might be too soon to say something like that, of the New Day into that tag division that is now started to get a lot of shine on Monday Night Raw. So this is going to be a perfect addition. But Nick, he asked a great question in the comments section. He said, "What's up, guys? Great turn on Raw by Woods and Kofi. The question is, who helps Big E when he returns? Because he's 100% returning to the ring." And the reason I pulled that comment up is because I totally agree, guys. I don't think you hint towards that, the potential of him coming back if there weren't already plans in place for him to make that return. Does that make sense? Like, I don't think they would have teased that whatsoever.
Yeah, 1,000%.
So if this does happen, is there anybody that could align with Big E in this situation? Because I can't think of one. But then again, everybody should want to align with Big E, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what's exciting about it, is because of the goodwill that the New Day have had for 10 years and what everybody has seen Big E go through in order to be ready to come back to the ring, that I think the people are going to be tripping over themselves to try to help him out. So while I can't name anybody off the cuff right now outside of a Sami Zayn or a Jey Uso, just kind of your typical top baby faces for this particular place on the card, something that either one of them could do. That's not to say that he won't have a shortage of options, but I do agree. I mean, I am optimistic that he will be headed back to the ring, just based on how they kind of put the. I mean, I don't think that you go and make it a deal of kicking Big E out of the New Day, especially at the same time that he dropped the Players Tribune article. That was not on accident. Right. That was all a part of this story, because we already had all of that sympathy built up, and we're thinking Big E, this is the guy that is going to come save them, and they cut him off at the knees. It's like Joe Pesci in the final minutes of his scene in Casino. If you've ever seen that movie,
I've never seen Casino. Tuck, have you seen that?
One? It's worth a watch.
I'm putting it on the list. I've got another 10 days by myself. So
Mr. Cincinnati hasn't seen Christmas Vacation, so I think that's a crime in itself.
I have not seen Christmas Vacation. Sorry.
You got hit with the sound effects. You got. But seriously, guys, I don't even think I'm being over dramatic when I say this. That might be the segment of the year. I don't think you can execute a heel turn better than that, Tuck. I really don't.
Dude, is it barbershop window?
There's more that can come from this.
What's the last TV big moment turn that you remember? That was 10 years.
Shield was probably, and that was a long time ago. That's like the first
one.
And
then 10 years before that, it was Evolution.
Yeah.
In 14.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's at this level. I really do, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. And I pointed this out in a video. I responded to a comment on TikTok today. With Raw moving to Netflix, and I know Nick Khan has said don't expect any massive changes as far as the rating or anything as far as whether it's more risque or anything like that. But Netflix is a streaming giant. They produce scripted content. Even the reality shows are scripted. So also, if anybody out there is watching The Ultimatum, the new season that just dropped, let me know. I know I started, at least I got through like the first episode. I still got a lot to finish there, but yeah, like it's out. And like, that's the thing, is you need that drama, you need that emotion. So like, this is where the entertainment aspect of sports entertainment is going to come in here. Like, experimenting with the commercial free half hour with Punk and Rollins. I mean, at this point, we still won't know until we're actually watching this product on January 6th, whether there are going to be commercials or anything like that. But they're trying different things with that commercial free atmosphere, because that could be the new norm in the matter of 30 days.
Which is crazy to think about. I remember us talking about it like during the summer, doing mixers and having these podcasts and be like, oh yeah, in the Netflix era in 2025, that's way down the road. Guys, it's right around the corner.
It's here.
It is here. Exactly.
It's here.
It is here. It has arrived. We are seeing the signs. You guys have said it throughout this entire podcast. We are seeing a glimpse of what the Netflix era could be. And I don't even know if you guys saw this report, but apparently there are rumors that there will be no crowd filtering. So the crowd can say whatever they want, chant asshole, F you, get all that. It's Netflix. That should be a thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think, because it does add something to the ambiance when you're hearing those holy shit moments, especially, but you don't necessarily need to modify the presentation of the talent. So, at least letting the crowds be vocal, and I'm sure that they will kind of monitor within reason what is acceptable and what's not, as far as just having some common sense about it. But, the holy shits and the fuck you solos, or the like, all of that stuff. Let those fly. Yeah.
What about the I love you solos? Can we get some of those?
I can't. That's
he's like very.
It's not comfortable, dude.
No, that's. You think that's his first action figure? Is just him doing this?
Probably.
It's got to be, right?
Yeah.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I'd buy it for sure. So, yeah, guys, before we move on, don't forget to leave a comment before we get into our predictions, because we are going to be talking about NXT Deadline. We're still trying to decide who will be the MVM of OTM. But I say we get right into it. We got NXT Deadline happening this Saturday. I'm trying to finish up here before AEW Dynamite, so we're not going head-to-head with them. But first matchup we're going to talk about here from NXT Deadline is going to be for those tag team championships. And we just found out last night on NXT that the No Quarter Catch crew will be facing off against Fraxium for those titles. They ended up winning that Battle Royal, which honestly was kind of a fun Battle Royal. I know the talent in there, hasn't been really built up that much, but hey, it was good for what it was. So here we are, Tuck. I'm going to go to you first. NXT tag titles on the line. It's very interesting because Frazier will be pulling double duty as well on this card.
Yeah, I think they retain here, given that it's been thrown together kind of quickly. But this also could be a coin flip match. I do think if Fraxium retains, Frazier later change it, means something. So. I think it'll be a fun match. Maybe the opener title match to open it up could be fun, hyper athletic. But I've got Fraxium retaining.
Interesting. Okay, Mr. Cincinnati.
So I do not see Fraxium walking out of Deadline with the tag team titles. My prediction is that the men's Iron Survivor opens the show. And we'll find the tag team title match kind of in the middle of the card here. It is I can see, Tuck, I can see your point about not necessarily wanting to do a title switch when the contenders have been decided, on the go home show. But the entire tag team division has been at each other's throats to get a shot at these titles. So there is a sense of urgency that I think that Nathan Frazier has been overlooking. While he's had his sights set on Iron Survivor and qualifying for that match, Axiom was not as lucky too. I think that this would be a different story had they both qualified. But at this point, as great as they are as a tag team, they've got plenty of others in the division to hold it down. Frazier has been way too calm, cool, and collected over the last several months, knowing that there are tag team champions breathing down their neck. Axiom has wanted him to get more serious. He hasn't necessarily. I think that we see the end of Fraxium this weekend, and it starts by losing these tag team titles. No Quarter Catch crew. I like that they won this match. I like that Ren Sinclair qualified for Women's Iron Survivor. I think that's by design. I mean, this is the last show of the year, but this is a chance to showcase some of those names that need to be ready here. Roxanne Perez has been overdue for a call-up by this point. So you do need to start to set the table of these other credible challengers, because Roxanne is going to leave a massive void when she eventually makes her way up to the main roster. And as great as Zara...
Did we lose Eric for a second there?
Yeah, Julia. I think that, I think Ren's going to be taking, and I know we still have to save that prediction, so I'll save that comment for when we talk Women's Iron Survivor. But yeah, give me no quarter catch crew.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Mr. Cincinnati. I think they've kind of been telling the story in the backstage segments with Axiom and Nathan Frazier that there's cracks in that tag team now. And you talked about it, how everybody's chomping at the bit to get this opportunity. I haven't seen enough from these tag teams that are currently in the tag team division to confidently be like they are the future. But I do see the potential in the no quarter catch crew, because they have invested a lot of, story time on television for this faction as of late. You talked about the Ren Sinclair win, and I do believe it is definitely all connected. That's why they ended up winning this tag team battle royal. But I'm going to agree with you. I think we are going to get new tag team champions, just because I think there is a fracture in Fraxium. And it would be a little bit of a reset of sorts for their NXT men's division down there. So, yeah, I think it might be a shock, but I'm also going to go with the no quarter catch crew.
I feel like I want to change my pick.
Do you know how hard it is to say no quarter catch crew and not botch it every single time?
Probably pretty hard.
And that's why I go NQCC all day.
Yeah, I probably should just do that. But we're going with the NQCC, and Tucky's going with Fraxium to retain their titles. This next one, I'm actually really excited for. I think the build has been pretty strong. We're getting an NXT Underground match between Lola Vice and Jada Parker. And Mr. Cincinnati, this feud has been going on for quite some time over the past couple of months, but culminating here in a match that probably favors Lola Vice. I know Jada Parker got the win the last time these two faced off, so how do you see this one shaking out here?
Yeah, I honestly thought that this would be over at the 2300 arena. I mean, I figured getting a brick to the face is going to end a feud pretty quickly. At least it has with Kiana James in other circumstances. Lola Vice has been in other NXT Underground matches that I think were much better built than this one. I think that Lola has looked somewhat vulnerable, at least more than she probably should, going into a match that is quote unquote hers. I mean, I was chomping at the bit that they were going to have this Underground match last night. So I think it was a fun tease that they said we're going to save it for Deadline, but went so far as to kind of take down the ropes and get that process started. I do think that Lola Vice gets the win here. I just hope that it does put this feud to rest. But it's certainly not the best built for somebody that they're touting this as her match.
Yeah, and I think that is obviously the story with that being the stipulation. It's like her home turf, essentially, being in this match. And that's probably why she's the one that's going to get the win here. But, man, there's one thing for sure, that these two are future stars on the main roster. I truly believe Lola Vice and Jada Parker have it. They understand the business. They haven't been here long, but they're doing a great job. Every time Jada Parker's on our television screens, everybody's got their eyes peeled to the TV. Same thing goes for Lola Vice. But with all that being said, Lola Vice, I think, has to get the win here. She needs a credible win on her resume. So I'm going to go with her in this NXT Underground match. Tucky, what about you?
I'm going with Lola Vice, and I hope this rivalry continues. We get one more. I think this has been a great non-title feud. And in such a stacked women's division, for these two to carve out a compelling feud amongst it all, I think it says a lot about the depth of the women's division. I'm going with like the hometown favorite with Lola Vice making it an Underground match.
Yeah.
I don't know what the third match is, though. You know what I mean? So that is my dilemma.
Last woman standing, maybe?
Yeah.
Fight pit could be something.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cool. So maybe I hope for that. But again, I think that is Lola Vice and Jace. But I think Lola Vice wins this one, but Jada Parker wins the feud, if that makes sense.
No, it does. I could see them going another round with this one. I know Mr. Cincinnati down there is not for it, but, we might be getting there eventually.
I mean, I could be convinced to enjoy a fight pit.
When's the last one we got? Was it Riddle?
I think so. Yeah, Rollins
on
and
Extreme
Riddle,
Rules when the Wyatt faction debuted, right?
2022. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Well, it wasn't the Wyatt faction, by the way. It was just Bray Wyatt's return on that show.
Yes.
I misspoke. So we're all going with Lola Vice, though, to win in the NXT Underground match. Let's knock out one of these Iron Survivor matches, which I am still not 100% sure on how the Iron Survivor match works, but once we get sat down and we watch, I will figure it out again. But we have Wesley, Ethan Page, Nathan Frazier, Javon Evans, and I put a question mark because Eddie Thorpe was advertised. He earned this spot, but we saw he was taken out backstage in NXT this week. So I think there's an opening here, and I get to conveniently go first for this one. So I'm going to tell you who I think is going to be the mystery person. I think we're going to see Oba Femi take this spot for Eddie Thorpe. I think he's the one that took him out. And I'm actually going to just ride that momentum and pick the wild card to win. I think Oba Femi is going to win the men's Iron Survivor match because we've talked about it before. Oba Femi exceeded expectations as North American champion, arguably the greatest North American champion. But what was next for Oba Femi? I think the NXT title scene has to be in his immediate future because he is going to get a call up very, very soon. So let's get him escalated up the card. I know he's not on this match card, so I'm going with Oba Femi. But if I had to choose somebody else, I think I would probably choose Wesley, just because I think Wesley eventually is going to get also into the title scene. So Tuck, with all that being said, what are your thoughts on this men's Iron Survivor?
To play foil to the Oba Femi theory, which I agree with. What's the point of taking Eddie Thorpe out so soon before the show if he's not going to be out? Like, that doesn't. It feels like segments matter, and in order for that to matter, I think he's got to be out. So I do think Oba Femi is going to be the entrant, and if so, I think he's on a Goldberg kind of run right now. Like he's so hot right now. I'm picking Wesley without him. If I had to submit a Google form with a question mark, I would pick Wesley just because you never know. And I'm going Wesley. I think this is the stamp, right? He's done it all. He is an established heel, and I think he's the one to win out of the collection that we know. And I think it's going to be a great match. I'm really looking forward to it. I like the Iron Survivor matches.
They're fun. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to think of them until they started doing them. I'm like, all right, I'm here for it. It makes a lot of sense to me. Mr. Cincinnati, you came up with a theory that you've been recently seeing online. So you mind sharing that before you give us your pick?
Yeah. I've been seeing on the interwebs people clamoring for Hikuleo to take that spot. We know that Eddie Thorpe accidentally crashed into Ava, sent her to the hospital. That's why she was out on TV last week. I don't know. It just seems like if there was ever a way to bring somebody in, that's the way to do it. Much like we've said, the stuff that we're seeing on TV is intentional as far as kind of how stories are developing. Ava's been general manager for a year and a half at this point and has never found herself in the way of any sort of physical contact or, certainly anything that would cause Shawn Michaels to blow a fucking gasket and just kind of figure out what the hell's going on and tending to Ava. That I think that's going to mean something. I mean, what other way could you debut another member of the eventual Bloodline saga than in the Iron Survivor Challenge? It's just I think that this would be a fun way to bring him in. So that's who I think is going to take the spot here. But I also agree with Tuck. I'm going to say Wes Lee. We've been kind of waiting to see kind of what this transition to the main event scene is going to look like. Winning Iron Survivor is the perfect way to do it. He's just a squirrely little fucker. So yeah,
he's a rascal.
Let's there you go. Yeah, let's watch him bounce around. Javon Evans is gonna be fun as fuck to watch in this match too. But yeah, I think it's time to see what we've got for. Right? Yeah. Ethan Page doesn't necessarily need to win this match to find himself in the NXT Championship picture. I mean, I just don't see that changing anytime soon. But yeah, no, I like it.
Is that who I think it is in the comment section? Do you want to
Thanks,
say
darling.
hello?
That is. Thanks, darling.
There you go. Nice to see him in the chat. But we're all going with Wesley on paper. But if there is the mystery person and it is Obafemi, that's my pick. And I think that's Tuck's pick too, if he ends up coming in. But JPJ is also in the house. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for stopping by. Probably here because you linked your stream to it, but I appreciate him stopping by nonetheless.
Oh, yeah.
For our deadline predictions. So we got 2 more matches to talk about. I'm going to save the women's Iron Survivor for last because I think that should main event. I don't know if it will. So let's talk about this one. Trick Williams versus Ridge Holland. Now, they've been building to this one for about a month now. We all know the backstory of Ridge Holland and how he got to this point. And here it is, the biggest opportunity of Ridge Holland's career. Not really sure what Eric Bischoff did to anything in this feud, what he added with that segment. I could say the same thing for X-Pac. I'm not going to talk about that. That's a rant for another time. But this match itself, Tuck, do you see any possibility of Ridge Holland walking away with that NXT title?
There's a 1% chance. You got that's why you have the match, right?
Yeah.
But I think with Trick Williams having the title, does he drop it before Mania? Like, I don't know. Does he get called up? Do they need him? I don't know. So I think it'll be a fun match, but I think the women's match will main event over this. I think it's a Trick Williams slam dunk, and I think it is a stepping stone for Ridge Holland as well. I've quite enjoyed this kind of new spin up of him in NXT, where I think he is growing and developing. Where when he was on the main roster, he was breaking people's necks.
Yeah, for sure. He has been a great fit in NXT. JPJ says I think Trick should be in the Rumble. I wouldn't mind seeing that, right, guys?
Yeah. It's gonna be a stacked one. This is gonna be one for the ages.
I can't wait to be there. Cannot wait to be there at Lucas Oil Stadium. Speaking of Trick Williams, shout out to Trick. His theme song got number 5 on my most played songs on Spotify Wrapped this past year. So my top 5 was all wrestling. Did you guys see it?
Let's go through your top 5.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is like, I don't know how I feel about your top 5 being your top 5 songs of the year being wrestling.
Top 5 songs of the year, all wrestling.
What?
Number 5, Trick Williams. Number 4, Don't Want None, AJ Styles. I think his remix theme is bad at. It's a good workout song. That's where I play my music. Fair. Number 3, Kingdom. God, it's a banger. It's I mean, come on, yeah, you get it. Number 2, I Believe in Joe Hendry.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I probably played that on loop when I dressed up for Halloween. Look at it. Tuck believes. He's got the shirt on. And number 1, It's Just Me, Oos. Main event, Jay Uso.
I like it.
That's a fair top 5.
I have played that at workouts before. Jay Uso, yeah.
And it literally is just me, Oos. I live by myself. I don't have a significant other. It literally is just me, Oos. So that's why I connect with that one. But enough Spotify talk, Mr. Cincinnati. This main event, or I'm guessing it's the main event. I don't want it to be. How do you feel about this NXT title match?
Well, Shawn Michaels is done what Vince McMahon couldn't, and that was make a star out of Ridge Holland. I have been Team Ridge the Fridge since he was going for the North American title, broke his ankle. I think it was at a takeover, one of those ladder matches, and took him out for a while. But this has been it's been pretty remarkable to watch that you know. And Trick called it out in their confrontation with Eric Bischoff, and it's the same kind of criticism that people have had of him. Podcast Dad has also said it. He just kind of came off as very, very generic, but now he's got an edge to him, and we're kind of in this season of NXT right now where expect the unexpected. So it's
So you're
it's a
gonna
dark
do it.
horse here. I hey, if Ridge Holland can win an NXT title before I get the Duke Hudson heel turn that I so richly deserve, I'm you know what, it's no secret how I feel about Ridge Holland. You can ask Mr. Ramsey. We have an understanding about it. Give me Ridge Holland in this match, new NXT champion.
If you would have told me last year, just in 2023, Ridge Holland has the opportunity to become an NXT champion next year, I would have flicked you off and said you're a dummy because that ain't happening. Well, we're living in the year of 2024, and here we are. Ridge Holland is closing out NXT's PLEs in the NXT title match. It's pretty crazy to say. I would not be surprised if Ridge did win the title. My thing with Trick is it seems like, with that first reign, he had it for a little bit and he dropped it a little too soon, in my opinion. I don't want to see Trick have these quick title reigns. I don't think it really builds up his resume, so to say. I think Trick just needs to hold on to this title a little bit longer, kind of like what JPJ was saying. You have him show up in the Rumble as NXT champion. Get that exposure for him with that belt. I think that would do a lot for him, making that appearance as champion. And then maybe he can lose it WrestleMania weekend. But this could just me being a fan of Trick Williams and not wanting Ridge Holland to win. So
I think with NXT though, I think on the flip side, because on the main roster we look at the length of a reign. That's something that Podcast Dad has been pretty vocal about on our show, especially with what we've seen out of Gunther. But with NXT, there's more prestige in how many times you hold the title. As far as
that's fair
because it is still their third brand, their developmental brand. So if you do have the opportunity to hold that title more than once, which hasn't been done very often, Trick is in some pretty elite company.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. NXT should be about just, getting those reigns under your belt. Because there's Finn Balor's a 3-time champion, correct?
Yeah,
how many
Shinsuke's
3-time
had it a couple
champions
times. Joe's had it a
Adam
couple
Cole.
of times. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all of them have gone on to do big things. Granted, some of them aren't in WWE, but they're still relevant in other companies, and I think that speaks volumes. So maybe Trick wouldn't be hurt by losing here. I don't know. Maybe I'll be surprised. But me and Tuck, we're going with Trick Willie. And Mr. Cincinnati is going with Ridge the Fridge Holland, which takes us to what we are hoping is going to be the main event because it's an absolutely stacked women's Iron Survivor match. We got Julia, we got Stephanie Valkyr, we have Sol Ruka, and we have Ren Sinclair. And I forgot about Zarya, I think, too. I don't know if I said that twice, but Zarya is in this match as well. So, Mr. Cincinnati, we got 3 brand new superstars, basically. And then Sol Ruka, who's been somewhat established, trying to find her footing after getting injured. And Ren Sinclair, who you talked about earlier, getting a surprise. This feels like the main event of NXT Deadline, doesn't it?
Yeah, 1,000%. I mean, these are all talents that we have been waiting for to put pen to paper pretty much for this entire calendar year. All 3 of these names have popped up and kind of just waiting for them to actually show up on TV, and they have, and this is kind of the perfect storm here. Sol Ruka has the injury bug has kind of slowed down where I think that she should be as far as her placement on the card in the women's division right now, but they're correcting that ship. She looks great. I think she's going to have an amazing performance here. Excited that Ren Sinclair was picked to be in this match. I mean, it's an inadvertent win, but she did pin Cora Jade. That's how the record books are going to remember it to qualify for this match. I think that she's going to have a great showing, but I do think she's going to eat a lot of the pinfalls in this match this weekend, just to preserve, the aura of Zarya, Julia, and Stephanie Valkyr. But as far as who wins this, This is a tough one, and I see JPJ's comment saying Zarya or Steph for him. I think I have to go Stephanie here.
And why is Julia not in that conversation for you?
Because she already strikes me as being. Yeah, she's already had the opportunity. I think that the benefit of Iron Survivor is that there is a fresh face for there's a fresh opportunity for somebody that hasn't had it before. And I think that this is a clean moment to give that to her. would I be upset if any of these women won? Maybe Ren Sinclair, just because I think that the other four, just kind of based on what we've seen of how they're presented, and Sol Ruka again is essentially a veteran when we're looking at those two compared side by side. But yeah, no, I got to go with Stephanie Vaquer on this one.
All right, let's go one by one here. Ren Sinclair, not gonna be the winner here. Great moment that she got here. I love what she's doing. Her time will come. It's not her time right now. Sol Ruka, I think you said it great, Eric. Ever since she's returned, it seems like she's finally starting to come into her own. I just don't think now is that moment. I think she's there just to be that, this is lack of better terms, the spot fest part of the match is what Sol Ruka is going to be a part of here. Then you go to Zarya, another big name, big name in the Indies as Delta. I think her future is probably going to be the North American women's title, because let's not forget that Fallon Henley's not even on this card, and I think that might be the next feud for Zarya. I would like to see her maybe get her hands on that title. Yeah. So for me, it comes down to two people, and that's Julia and Stephanie Vaquer. And going off of what you basically were saying about Julia is why I can't sit here and say she's going to win. Granted, just like what you were saying, I'd be totally fine with her winning. I think Julia's awesome. I think what she has done so far on NXT television has been great. But Stephanie Vaquer, and I know this word gets used a lot, she just has that aura. She just feels like a major player, and I think she should be the one to become the Iron Survivor. She just feels like an Iron Survivor champion, if that makes sense to me. Yeah. I know it's not a thing, but this just feels like her showcase match. So her versus Roxanne Perez, give me that every day of the week, Tuck.
Yeah, I'm going Stephanie Vaquer too. The fact that Julia's already challenged for the title kind of takes her out of the picture, in my opinion, agreeing with Mr. Cincinnati. And I think Stephanie is primed for it. I could see Zarya getting like a few quick pinfalls early, giving Stephanie Vaquer a hole to dig out of. But I see her coming out with a win as well.
There's just so much talent in this match. I cannot wait to see what happens. I don't know how they're going to go about doing it, but I know we're going to be very entertained. And it should be a good card. NXT typically delivers, just like AEW. Whenever AEW does pay-per-views, they're very entertaining. So, Tuck, where's your excitement levels at for this? Are you going to be hunkered down watching live?
Oh, yeah. No, actually, Saturday. It's Saturday, right? What time?
Saturday. I don't know.
Standard.
Eric, do you know the time?
7 Eastern. Yeah.
7
Standard.
Eastern. That's a 4. I'll probably watch it live. Yeah. We've got a parade in the evening that we're going to, but yeah, parade. I'm excited for it. Yeah. Christmas parade.
I forgot those are things.
Parade of lights or something like that.
Oh yeah.
There's a bar on the parade route. You know what I mean? So hey.
Oh, yeah.
Tis the season. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm at a 8 out of 10.
Mr. Cincinnati, we'd be watching live on Saturday.
That is the current plan right now.
All right, so stay tuned. Make sure you're following at JunkieSpot. I know he is always tweeting out during the shows. Of course, you can follow us at Pod on the Mark, and me, I am always live tweeting at 2SweetKyle. So you can give me a follow on X. We're not on Blue Sky yet. The Main Event Network's on Blue Sky, but I don't know what's going on with that app. There's just too many apps nowadays. I'm not going to plug it.
Blue Sky? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know who started it.
It's X, but nicer.
There you go. It's the nicer version of X for sure. But we're at the end of the show, which means we have to give out the MVM. If you don't know what the MVM is, it is the most valuable mark title. We give that to the person that is interacting the most, giving the most quality comments every single episode. And it's unfortunate this week because we didn't have a lot of comments interacting with us live. Granted, we did pivot. We were supposed to be live tomorrow night. I understand. But we as a podcast have to do what is right for the prestigious MVM title. And that decision is the MVM goes to no one. The MVM is now vacated, and it will be up for grabs next week on episode 225. Tuck, we just didn't see enough to award a champion tonight.
Well, and it presents us a unique opportunity to hit the reset button on the division. I expect the comment section that week to just be a battle royal. of the squad. Cut back to the Thursday evening slate next week, correct? So
Probably.
our diehards will be ready to roll. I'm excited to see and experience the people duking it out in the chat next week. They're saving their bullets. We've got Deadline to recap next week. I'm looking forward to it, and previewing Saturday night's main event. So we are halfway through this 4-weekend stretch of good wrestling. So it's a great time to be a wrestling fan.
Could be worse, gentlemen. It definitely could be worse for us as wrestling fans. But Mr. Cincinnati, before we go, why don't you let the audience know what is going on with the Wrestling Junkies podcast?
Yes. So let me double check our calendar here. As always, follow us at Junkies Pod for everything related to Wrestling Junkies podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This video is linked. So if you're watching and new to our channel, go ahead, do us a favor and hit subscribe. Next week we've got Pro South Wrestling's own Joe Wood joining the show. Tomorrow the new Coastal Empire Wrestling Coastal Chaos champion Hakeem Young might show up. If he does, great. If not, fuck him. But yeah, no, that's what we got going on right now. Now, like, share, subscribe. Remember, GorillaPressApparel.BigCartel.com, promo code WJP 2024 gets you 25% off site-wide. Get that holiday shopping done, and do it by supporting our friends over at Gorilla Press. That's what I got for you tonight, my friend.
Appreciate you joining us, Mr. Cincinnati. I know you were live right before this, so it's been a very long evening for you, but don't worry.
It's all good.
We're going to get you back to your regularly scheduled programming here in just a minute. But before we go, guys, don't forget, until Christmas, that's now until then, you got a whole entire month. If you use promo code Xmas at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com, you will save 10% off of your order. Tuck, what are some of the items that they could get on our website?
T-shirts, hoodies, mugs, tapestries, crop top hoodies. Yeah.
Go on.
Many different
Wait,
things.
hold on.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We do have
they're
those.
there. They're there.
You could show off your 8-pack.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I definitely don't have one of those, but I'm still gonna show it off.
Yeah. Never hurts, right? Never hurts. Don't forget to show some love to the Main Event Wrestling Network at @mainevent_net. Great podcasts, great blogs, YouTube content, you name it, we got it. I stole that from Mr. Cincinnati because that's how he runs it down every time he plugs it. But, I like to emulate the greats of the podcasting world. And Mr. Cincinnati and the Wrestling Junkies are definitely one of the great podcasts out there, just like us here at OTM. We got a great family around us. So, Tucky, why don't you send us home for episode 224?
Episode 224. Man, that's a lot. We're little by little. What an exciting time it is. NXT Deadline. I gave my excitement levels. Gentlemen, did you give yours?
Did not.
What is it?
I'd say probably a 7 out of 10.
7?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's something to watch on a Saturday night. I'm always down for that. My Bearcats aren't bowl eligible. The Bengals are going to Bengals, so it's like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna go lean into my first love, pro wrestling. So I think this will be a fun show to close out NXT for the year. We'll see what happens.
Won't be surprised if it's a great show. So are we doing a predictions form for this, or we don't do NXT?
We could if we want to.
Right.
It's up to you.
I'll see what I can spin up tomorrow. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.